All right, so welcome in today on our live show. And of course, as you saw in the title, can Doge hold off the charging Shiba? That's going to be the question we're going to answer today. Looks like it may have already charged past. No spoiler alert there for you. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to Tech Path. Today we're going to dive into a couple of things around what's happening in the meme coins and also just in Doge and Shiba in general, because this is also something that I think whether you're invested in either one of these tokens, the key here is that we have a large community in both of these camps, maybe in crossover as well, that have really kind of pushed the envelope in terms of volume. And volume is the bigger question here in terms of how and when these meme coins continue to flow in terms of what we're going to see not only in market cap, but also in how that might affect the rest of cryptocurrency. So going to be some big topics today. I want to get to this first story, which is from Fast Company. They were the first one that kind of broke it this afternoon. Shiba Inu coin surges over 800%, finally surpassing the rival token Dogecoin. And now the king is over. Shiba has done it. And the fact that it can push Doge around like this, I mean, this is a dogfight for sure. The question is whether or not it can hold. So you can kind of see here, while the absolute price of Shiba may not seem like much, in fact, it's not a speck of a penny. If you had invested $2 in this coin back in January, it'd be worth $2 million today. And according to the chart, Spinoffs has finally bested the original meme token Dogecoin. As of midday Wednesday, Shiba Inu is the 9th biggest cryptocurrency, and Dogecoin is number 11 as it's calculated by CoinGecko. This is kind of interesting, though. Not necessarily on the point of Dogecoin and Shiba, but I just want to show you guys sometimes you have to really move around in the marketplaces, because as of this recording right now, here we are on Coin Market Cap, and I'm going to just refresh this for you just to give you an example. This still has Doge holding it at 32, right there, 32.7 billion, and Shiba Inu at 27 billion. So it's still got Shiba in the trail on number 11. But if you jump over to CoinGecko, same kind of scenario. Let me just refresh there. And you kind of get what I'm talking about. There's the refresh, and there it is. Shiba's number 9, holding at 25. That's the volume. Holding at 34, and of course, market cap right there on Dogecoin, right underneath it at number 10, holding at 32. So this is going to be kind of a back and forth, I think, for a little bit of a time here in terms of what we've seen around not only trade volume, obviously market cap, but also sentiment. And this is probably the biggest and the number one thing that you should be watching if you're trading in either one of these tokens. Not that we would tell you to do that, but just as a reminder, we'll do these market movers. The idea behind a market mover, pretty straightforward. We give you all this research. We give you a lot of insights, hopefully, and you get some data that's very proprietary to our channel. The only ones that do this. We've developed this thing over 8 years, but the idea is it gets you on your track, and it's not investment advice, but it helps you move in the direction on your education advice that you need to really understand where the market is going. So that is one thing. Before we get too deep into this, because I've got a couple of stories around this and why this might be happening, I want to get over to our sponsor for today's show, and that is iTrust Capital. And if you have not had a chance to do a crypto IRA, this is the time to do it, because it is one of those opportunities where you can actually, one, trade all of your Bitcoin and your crypto assets to a certain extent within iTrust Capital. So it's a great place to do it. Simple setup, complete your IRA application in minutes. You get a step-by-step walkthrough. You get 24-hour and 7-day-a-week trading, which is just like a traditional exchange in the sense that you'll be able to actually manage the tokens and the projects that you are invested in within your IRA, which is really great in the sense that, remember, an IRA is not something that you're going to trade or even sell at the top of the market and then wait for the crash. No, this is one of those things that you keep for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and that's where some of these assets are going. And I would recommend, if you guys have children, if you've got maybe you're young and you just want to put a certain amount in there and just start dropping in, check with your tax attorney or your tax and CPA professional to find out, what's the best strategy for you, because everybody's going to be a little different in terms of what they can put in it. But it's very important because right now, all you'd have to be doing is just start dropping a little bit in there. I know it takes, I think, 2,000 is the minimum to drop in for an IRA, but this is a great investment for you guys to do long term. And it's one of those things that I think a lot of people put on the back burner and then wish they had done it 5 years later and realize, oh my gosh, Bitcoin's at $250,000. I could have put it in there at 60K. That's the kind of thing you have to be thinking about when you're doing these long-term investments. The other thing that's really cool about iTrust is it's got this whole secured storage aspect. So they're using Coinbase for custody, and they're also using Curve, which is receiving institutional custody as well. So you can kind of see a little bit about that. And if you're into precious metals, they also do some derivatives there as well on trading. They do a lot around educating the investor as well. So make sure you just jump over to their website. It's itrustcapital.com. Make sure and use our link below, because that's going to give you a free month on iTrust. And of course, you're helping out the channel. That's the number one thing. Because listen, this is what you came for. And that is, you came for the insights and the data that we're spilling out when it comes to some of these projects. And that's the research that we're getting ready to deliver to you. And that, of course, is talking about Doge and where and why this is going on. So here's the early story on CoinDesk that was basically talking about Shiba's parabolic run has again coincided with the pullback in Bitcoin's price. Remember, this seems to be tracking right along with where Bitcoin is pulling back, and you get these intersections right here that seem to be happening with Shiba. And again, that might be because we're seeing a little bit of less dominance and more movement into the altcoins. Remember, not everybody is, I know you hate to hear this, but not everybody is holding on Bitcoin, meaning buy and hold. We have people out there that are trading in Bitcoin right now, utilizing it, and when there is a drop, they're taking advantage maybe of the dip, or they took advantage of the high and sold, and that's why we're seeing some of that volatility. And of course, that's what moves it into the next thing, which is, hey, let's jump into our altcoins. And of course, the memes are usually leading the pack, at least with the masses. There's been a big push also to try to get Shiba listed on Robinhood. And let me tell you, if that happens, if Robinhood falls to the masses and gets Shiba onto the platform, we could see another major pull away on Shiba. It's amazing to see this meme coin with this kind of activity. Here's the thing I think that people have to think into consideration, and I understand the tokenomics are not there. This is not about investment. This is about gambling. That's probably what's happening more so than anyway. Probably shouldn't say that. Don't want to get our demonetized here. But the point being is that it is a highly speculative asset. It's something I'm not invested in. I don't put money in Shiba. I have done it with Doge in the sense of just wanted to kind of play with it and understand how the ecosystem was working in the sense of users and abusers, so to speak. But I feel like right now what's happening is people are using this as their leapfrog into crypto. And that in itself is almost worth it because of the fact that, one, you might have purchased this on your first trade on an exchange. So you're getting that education of how to navigate an exchange. Maybe you're starting to think about moving it around in wallets. You're getting that education of that. These are for people that maybe are coming to our show or to our channel for the first time. Maybe they have not done anything in the crypto space. And listen, that's why you're here. You're learning, we're learning together in the sense of education and what the market is doing, because believe me, it is moving so fast. And anybody that tells you they're a crypto expert is wrong, because the issue, there's crypto pioneers out there, but the problem is that the industry has completely changed in the last 2 years. The technology has shifted, the shift away from the technology that was built on this outside of Bitcoin. But even within Bitcoin, the ecosystem and the infrastructures that are being built around that major token, the one that has kind of started it all, just the advancement around what's happened in the last 2 years, that's really where the growth is happening now. 2017, 2013, those were all warm-up games, preseason. They don't count in this world. they were not, even though they were great run-ups and a lot of people made a lot of money in that, the real money to be made is coming in the next 2 cycles, and that I can assure you just with the number of people. So these meme coins, they're part of the game now. They're part of the ecosystem. It's something you have to pay attention to, even if you're not investing in them. But if you are investing in them, this is one thing that I do myself. I'm very cautious with these because you can get wrecked really quick if we see this run-up occur. Everybody thinks they can get out first. They can get out before it happens. They can move, but we've all seen problems with the exchanges where your coins are locked up because of the volatility move, and we see massive input. When you see a coin like this at the price point that it's at, and you see this kind of volume, imagine if we started to see a major fall on Shiba. We'd see a lot of exodus coming for the door, and when you have that many people heading for the door at the same time, that's a problem on many of these exchanges. So Bitcoin trending down amid signs of excess leverage and greed in the market. The largest cryptocurrency by market value was changing hands at about 58.9. This is just here recently, and representing a 2.3% drop on the day. It's down 12% from last week, which was 66,975. And I think this has a lot to do with how all of this is moving into where money is going into Dogecoin, and really kind of, or excuse me, into Shiba, and also into Dogecoin, because there's some movement here happening, and we're going to show you some charts to kind of explain that. But dog coins are mooning again, which has historically been a pretty good indicator of an overheated market, and that was the case. This is according to analyst Delphi Digital, who said, market note published on Monday. First time dog coins went wild is April and May of this year. Remember that time? And then, of course, they cratered as the crypto markets cooled off, and that's exactly what happened in May. Do you remember where you were in May when that started occurring? We started to see the free fall. That's what could and would be happening in some kind of scenario like this. Now, a lot of people look at this and say, wait a minute, Bitcoin is only in its second leg here on this bull run. So Doge may take a little bit of a backseat and then recorrect, or Shiba, could it continue with its stellar movement and just pull away as the leading dog coin out there? So they did, Shiba clocked a record high of 595 during Asian trading hours, taking the month to date gain over 600%. And this is based on the Masari blockchain data. Token has also gained 48% this week, courtesy of SHIB's Army forensic campaign to get the online brokerage, as I said, mentioned earlier, platform onto Robinhood markets and get Robinhood to put it onto its platform. That'll be an interesting thing if they pull that off. Early today, it was the top Twitter trend in India. Look at this. Second largest, most populous country. This is also from Wazurix. If you have not, we did a video with that team. You should check out that, because they're like the coin, they're kind of like the, I'll call them the number one exchange in India. I would say they're number one, yeah. And I think when you look at what they're doing, one of the largest crypto exchanges in India said SHIB had overtaken Bitcoin's position as the top traded token in the Indian rupee market this week, generating 489 million in volume. So big surge there. And then, of course, a surge in activity of highly risky coins like Shiba indicates a speculative fervor for the reaching of a tipping point. This is where you get into the crypto greed and fear index back to its highs. We haven't seen this since, again, back in March when we had that extreme greed level. So this tells you that you have to be cautious with these types of projects. And I think the scenario right now with Shiba is going to be one that, you just have to tread very lightly here. I think that is, at least that's what I would do if I was invested in Shiba right now. Just a handful of questions coming in. Jim D says, hey, I'm putting in 5% into high drama attention getting coins, taking profit at 4 or 5x. I like that. That's a good one, Jim D. And he's right. I mean, Doge and Shiba are in a dogfight truly for that top position, and it does create drama. It creates a lot of news stories, which creates a lot of data, which creates a lot of sentiment and network effect. So you do get a lot of that. Ted B comes in. What scares me about a meme coin is the fact that a tweet from Elon can change everything. He holds the Doge, and it won't back up SHIB. So That's interesting, you know, in the sense that you're right. I mean, could Elon come in and just wreck the Doge or the Shiba carriers? He might. I mean, because he is a big Doge fan club. Imagine if Elon's just like, I don't understand this about Shiba. What's up with that? Doge is the king dog. Come on, man. And then boom, drop the mic, and then you've got Shiba licking their wounds and paws in the corner because they just got their booty kicked. You know, watch out for the big dogs. Always watch the big dogs, and that is Mr. Doge. Another one here, Shiba is pumping because of hard work, a real project, and more than just a meme coin. I like that. Good shill, Andrew Sawyers. I love the shills in the comments and in the in the things or in the chat. It's always fun to see. All right, so let's get into this chart right here, and this is the one I wanted to kind of show for the day. It's really kind of the interesting chart that shows the analysis between Dogecoin and also Shiba as it relates to sentiment and the move over the past little bit. So if you look at Doge currently, this is on the right-hand side of your screen right here, and you see sentiment during this little fall off right here. But Doge started its recorrection. It's had a little bit of a choppiness right there as well. But here is the interesting thing. Sentiment was at 77.16. AMP was at 75.12. Now here's a very important scenario that happens when this occurs. When amplification and sentiment are neck and neck like this, you have to be very cautious because an amplification, once that it starts to over-index what is happening in sentiment, it indicates a very parabolic move. We've tracked it time in and time again. It is like clockwork in the data when we see that. And Doge is not getting that right now. So that tells me that we could see a little bit more of this kind of sideways action right here that we're seeing on this chart right here, which could still stick us in the 20, you know, right there on the low at 25 and on the high right there at 27, still in the near term of where this is going. Now, you take a look at what's happening over here on the left side, and this, of course, is Shiba. And look where Shiba has gone just since we pulled the data. The trend line we had already pasted in from our sentiment score back here on October 24th, and we had masked this out based on this data. So this was already pre-done, 74.03 and a 75. That's when sentiment flipped or amplification flipped and kept going. And now that's the kind of parabolic move we're in. We pulled this score on this little dip right here, and sentiment scored at a 78.91. This is important because sentiment overtook sentiment on Doge at 77.16. And just to kind of give you guys a real understanding here, because we're crossing charts, this number right here and this number right here is really important between the two tokens because it has a lot of similarities in the communities that it's like a lookalike audience. If you've ever done any internet marketing, lookalike audiences really fall into that. So it's a big one. Ripple effect, thanks for the super chat. Ripple effect, Shiba will take out Doge. Man, that's a strong statement. They're going to take them out. Does that mean Doge falls to like number 14 or 20 and sucks up all the wind and everybody sells their Doge to run into the Shiba camp? I don't know. That's going to be interesting. With a sentiment score this high at 77.16, I don't know. That's a very powerful community at 77.16. I would say we have some big dog coins holder here in our own studio, and they are passionate about Doge. So don't count Doge out just yet. 77.16 and a 75.12 is a very respectable sentiment and amplification score. But I want you guys to look at the track on where Shiba could go, because this is where it gets really interesting. This, our line, you know, compared to what's happening here, I mean, if we just track up that line right there and hold it, and on our top line, same kind of scenario, if we just create a parallel with it, are we in there? See, it's out, busting out past this. So this is definitely in one of those parabolic moves. The chart is showing it. The sentiment data is showing it, and of course the amplification is showing it as well. On to a couple of more questions. Elon said he is not owning any Doge, and the price fell hard, but it went right back up. That told me Shiba is Elon proof. That's interesting. We'll see. We'll see if that holds out, because that's going to be one. There's a lot of Shiba people in our comments today. This is crazy. Ted, thank you. Are we serious here? Listen, Ted, let's talk about that for a second, because what I explained earlier is that, remember, like any kind of market, remember, we are not the market makers. There's always a seller and a buyer, and that's like any market out there. Whether there's the dynamics or the fundamentals behind anything, this happens in the marketplace, in the stock market as well, where you go over the counter, you go to penny stocks, all those, these are the penny stocks of cryptocurrency. And sometimes these things really take off, and they're serious in the sense of how investment and volume gets into it. There's going to be a ton of people that get wrecked here. Don't get me wrong. This is going to happen. But listen, there's a ton of people that got wrecked in some big coins. Remember ICP? ICP wrecked a lot of people. That's a serious project, super serious project. So I think as we look at these, we have to take all these kind of things with a grain of salt and look at them for what they are. They're a investment, but at the same time, a highly speculative asset that could potentially just completely implode on you. So very risky moves, but definitely one to be interesting to watch right now as we continue to see going in that direction. A couple more questions here. Shiba Inu is going to pump after this pump. Do I think it will? I think this one will probably hold for a bit, maybe a day or two, and then I feel like we're going to see Bitcoin suck the wind out of this again, because there's a lot of capital moving into Bitcoin right now. When you start moving that kind of capital into Bitcoin, it starts to affect other alts, and those alts also have some scenarios where we're getting to see some alts making runs, including Solana and many of others that we've pointed out, Phantom. You can go through the list. Avalanche, which is, by the way, is a really interesting project right now. If you are not in Avalanche, you should be. That's one that is getting ready. We should probably do an update on that one as well, because it's getting lots of cool data coming at us when we look at that. All right, some more questions here. Okay, is Shiba pump on that one? Okay, here's James Earl Cash. It will crash, maybe crash a few times. It's a meme coin. You invest, so you get some profits, run away to take for another huge dip. Likelihood, again, we will see this happen. It happened in Doge. Shiba hasn't had its day in the dark sun yet, but it will. And that's the point. Where are you when you're trying to catch that falling knife? That's the problem that I always run into with these kind of scenarios. JF, SHIB is more distributed and building its own blockchain. Shibarium, stablecoin, SHIB network, ShibaNet. There are some arguments there. I understand that with what the developer community is trying to do behind this, but it is still a very speculative blockchain in terms of one's security, and also just its ability to scale based on what they're doing on the tokenomics side of things. So if you play into that, I mean, once that you leverage past meme and you try to put it into fundamentals, that's a different game. Now you really have to compare it to other structured, blockchains out there that have real tokenomics and real fundamentals that would be comparative. So you'd have to look at XRP, you'd have to look at Solana, you'd have to look at Ethereum, all those. And it's not even in the same, hemisphere with those kinds of projects. So definitely go in there. All right. Everybody just keeps pumping the SHIB. I like that. Another super chat coming in. Ripple effect. Shiba's on fire. Yes, love it, love it. Sold half my Shiba, 50% loss in July. And of course, this was Ordona case. That's a good example of what Ordona had dealt with, and that was, one of these big fallbacks. So those are the things you have to watch. Back to the charts real quick. Just take a look again where we are here. Very simple. Shiba is holding and right now outperforming Doge in terms of sentiment at 78 versus a 77. Amplification at 75 right there. And we've got 75 right there on Doge. Very close. This is going to get interesting as we start to see the altcoin race run. So you guys have not joined. If you have not joined the Diamond Circle, I want you guys to jump in right now because it is free for you to do. It's easy to join. It's just a few things we need from you to get into it. What we're going to do is drop you more information, more education, more of our own analysis. And also, we do a lot of airdrops on digital asset rewards, and that's digital asset rewards to you. So we'll do those through our Diamond Circle wheel every once in a while here on the show during a live stream and dump those to you. Make sure and check out our links below because we've got a ton of deals. We just got a new partner with Token Metrics. We've got some cool stuff happening with Token Metrics. They do some interesting sentiment data that so far that in our research comparable to what we're doing, there's a lot of alignments. It's actually a tool that I think might be better for what we're doing with our own sentiment data than what we've been using, which was Trade the Chain. So it'll be interesting to see how that lines out because we may have a magical asset now with Token Metrics layered in with what we're doing on our own data. It'll be fun because then we can start doing some cross measurement and seeing how accurate it is, and we'll know quickly. So lots of stuff happening. Thank you everybody for jumping in. John May, Mike Smith, Jim D, 179 Kevin, Dip Buyer 83. You guys are all great. We've seen you in the chat before. John May, great stuff. Mike Smith, thank you again. And also Zach Roop, shout out to you. Thanks again for stopping in. I'm seeing a lot of names coming back into the chat, so great to see you guys here. I'm glad, hopefully this is giving you some education. We will be dropping more big projects and analysis on Ethereum as we see some very interesting waves starting to develop this week in Ethereum. So be on the look for those videos because they are coming to you very, very fast. And again, if you have some comments below, if you're watching this past the live, drop in some ideas down there because that's how we get feedback from you guys. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, man, just jump over there, man. It's easy. @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.